My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm 32 years old, and this is the story of how my parents chose my sister's wedding over my life. But what they didn't know was that someone was watching everything. Someone who would spend the next 7 years quietly collecting every receipt, every text message, every lie they ever told. That someone was my grandmother. And when she finally played her hand, my entire family's world came crashing down in the most spectacular way imaginable. It was December 15th, 2017. I was lying on a hospital bed, shaking uncontrollably, blood pooling beneath me. I was 14 weeks pregnant and losing my baby. My phone rang. It was my mother. Katie's rehearsal dinner starts in 2 hours. Where are you? I could barely speak. Mom, I'm in the emergency room. I'm losing the baby. There was a pause. Then she said something I'll never forget. Sarah, don't do this to your sister. Not tonight. You always make everything about you. She hung up. My father never called. My sister never checked on me. That night, I lost my child. And I lost my family. But I didn't lose everything. Because sitting in the corner of that waiting room, hidden behind a magazine, was my grandmother. And she saw everything. She heard everything. And for the next 7 years, she became a ghost. Collecting, recording, waiting. I didn't know any of this. Not until last Thanksgiving, when she walked into my sister's house carrying a leather folder and a smile I'd never seen before. Let me take you back to the beginning, to the moment everything fell apart. I was the older sister, the responsible one, the one who always put family first. Katie was the golden child. Beautiful, charming, effortlessly perfect in my parents' eyes. When she got engaged to Derek, a successful attorney from a wealthy family, my parents acted like they'd won the lottery. The wedding became their entire identity. My mother quit her job to plan it. My father took out a second mortgage to pay for it. Every conversation, every dinner, every holiday became about Katie's big day. I was happy for her. I really was. But I was also quietly building my own life. I'd been with my husband James for 3 years. We weren't flashy. We didn't have money, but we had something real. When I found out I was pregnant that November, I was terrified and thrilled at the same time. James cried when I told him. We decided to wait until after Katie's wedding to announce it. I didn't want to steal her thunder, but my body had other plans. 2 weeks before the wedding, I started spotting. I called my doctor. She told me to monitor it. Stay calm. Rest. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to worry them. Then, on the night of Katie's rehearsal dinner, the cramps started. Sharp, violent, unbearable. I was home alone. James was out of town for work. I called my mom, sobbing, begging her to come. She sighed. She actually sighed. Sarah, I don't have time for your drama tonight. If it's serious, call an ambulance. Click. I did. I called 911. I rode alone in the back of that ambulance, clutching my stomach, praying to a God I wasn't sure I believed in. Please, please don't take my baby. The ER was chaos. Bright lights, cold hands. A nurse holding my hand while a doctor told me the words I'll never forget. I'm sorry, there's no heartbeat. I called my mother again. This time I could barely speak. Mom, I lost the baby. I need you. Her voice was ice. Sarah, stop being selfish. This is Katie's weekend. We'll talk on Monday. Then my father got on the line. You're always doing this. Always making yourself the center of attention. We're not coming. Figure it out. They hung up. I sat there, alone, staring at the ceiling, feeling my heart shatter into 1,000 pieces. A nurse came in to check on me. She saw my face, and she knew. She didn't say anything. She just held me while I sobbed into her scrubs. That's when I saw her. My grandmother. Standing in the doorway. I didn't even know she was in town. She walked in slowly, her face pale, her eyes filled with something I couldn't name. Rage, heartbreak, determination. She sat beside me. She held my hand. She stroked my hair. And she whispered, "I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry." I asked her how she knew I was here. She said she'd been trying to call my parents all night. When they didn't answer, she got worried. She drove to the rehearsal dinner venue. She overheard my mother on the phone. She heard everything. She came straight to the hospital. I cried harder. She stayed with me all night. She was there when they discharged me. She drove me home. She tucked me into bed. And then she said something strange. Something I didn't understand until years later. "They will pay for this, Sarah, I promise you. They will pay." The next morning, I woke up to 47 missed calls. All from Katie. Not my parents. Just Katie. I answered. She was hysterical. "Sarah, where the hell are you? You're supposed to be at the venue in an hour for hair and makeup. I'm the maid of honor. You can't just disappear." My voice was hollow. "I lost my baby last night, Katie. I was in the hospital." Silence. Then, "You're lying. You're just trying to ruin my wedding." I hung up. I turned off my phone. I stayed in bed for 3 days. James came home early. He held me. He cried with me. He called my parents. My father told him I was being dramatic. My mother said I was jealous of Katie. James lost it. He told them they were monsters. He told them never to contact us again. They didn't. Not for 7 years. Katie got married. I wasn't there. I saw the photos on Facebook. My parents looked radiant. My sister looked like a princess. There was no empty seat for me. No mention of my absence. It was like I never existed. I deleted social media. I moved across town. I changed my number. I cut them off completely. It was the only way to survive. But my grandmother didn't cut them off. She stayed close. She attended every family dinner, every holiday, every birthday party, and she watched. She listened. She documented everything. I didn't know this at the time. We talked occasionally. She'd call to check on me. She'd send cards, small gifts. She never mentioned my parents. She never pushed me to reconcile. She just loved me quietly from a distance. Meanwhile, my life moved forward. Slowly, painfully. James and I tried for another baby. It took 2 years. 2 years of negative tests and grief and hope. Then, finally, a positive. I was terrified the entire pregnancy. Every twinge, every cramp sent me into a panic. But at 39 weeks, I gave birth to a healthy baby girl. We named her Emma. She was perfect. My parents didn't know she existed. I didn't tell them. I didn't want them anywhere near her. Emma became my world, my reason to breathe. James was an incredible father. We built a small, quiet, beautiful life. We had friends. We had community. We didn't need my family, or so I told myself. But the truth is, it hurt. Every birthday, every holiday, every time Emma asked why she didn't have grandparents like her friends, it hurt like hell. Katie had 2 kids in those 7 years, a boy and a girl. I saw their photos through mutual acquaintances. My parents were obsessed. They posted about them constantly, doting grandparents. Family is everything. I wanted to scream. But I stayed silent. I focused on my healing, on my daughter, on my marriage. I thought I'd made peace with it. I thought I'd moved on. I was wrong, because my grandmother hadn't moved on. She was building something, a case, a reckoning. She kept every text message my mother sent bad-mouthing me to relatives. Every voicemail my father left calling me ungrateful. Every social media post painting me as the difficult daughter. She recorded conversations. She saved receipts. She befriended Katie's friends and extracted information. She was methodical, patient, relentless. and I had no idea. Until Thanksgiving 2024. I got a call from my grandmother. Her voice was calm, strong. "Sarah, I need you to trust me. Come to Katie's house tomorrow at 2 p.m. Bring James and Emma. I promise you it will be worth it." I hesitated. "Why?" She paused. "Because it's time." Time for what? Time for the truth. I almost didn't go. James thought it was a terrible idea. "Sarah, why would you walk back into that nightmare? They don't deserve to see Emma. They don't deserve you." He was right. But something in my grandmother's voice made me believe, made me curious. So I went. We all went. Katie's house was massive, a sprawling suburban palace funded by Derek's law firm's salary and my parents' continued financial support. Cars lined the driveway. I recognized my parents' Mercedes, my aunt and uncle's SUV, cousins I hadn't seen in years. My stomach twisted. This was a mistake. James squeezed my hand. "We can leave." I shook my head. "Number one, I need to see this through." We walked to the door. I rang the bell. Katie answered. Her face went white. "Sarah, what are you doing here?" Before I could answer, my grandmother appeared behind her. I invited her. Katie's mouth opened and closed like a fish. My mother's voice shrieked from inside. "Katie, who's at the door?" Then she appeared. She saw me, her face twisted with fury. "You have some nerve showing up here." My father stepped forward. "You need to leave. Now." My grandmother stepped between us. Her voice was steel. "No, she's staying. And so are all of you. We're going to have a family meeting." My mother laughed. "A family meeting? She hasn't been part of this family for 7 years. She chose that." My grandmother's eyes narrowed. "No, Margaret. You chose that. And now you're going to sit down, shut up, and listen." The room went silent. My grandmother had never spoken to my mother like that. Ever. Katie looked terrified. My father looked confused. My grandmother walked into the living room. "Sit. Everyone. Now." And somehow, they obeyed. I stood frozen in the doorway. James held Emma, who was staring at everyone with wide, curious eyes. My grandmother gestured to the couch. "Sarah, James, come sit beside me." We did. The room was packed. My parents, Katie and Derek, my aunt, uncle, and 3 cousins. Everyone staring. My grandmother placed a leather folder on the coffee table. She opened it slowly. Inside were documents, photos, printed text messages. She looked around the room. 7 years ago, you all abandoned Sarah when she needed you most. You chose a party over her life. You called her dramatic, selfish, attention-seeking. And for 7 years, you've told everyone who would listen that she's the problem, that she cut you off, that she's unstable. My mother started to interrupt. Grandmother held up a hand. "I'm not finished." She pulled out a stack of printed text messages. "These are messages Margaret sent to 14 different family members over the past 7 years. Let me read a few highlights. Sarah always was jealous of Katie. She couldn't handle not being the center of attention. She faked a miscarriage to ruin the wedding. I knew she'd try something like that." The room gasped. My mother went pale. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. My grandmother continued. "And here's one from Richard. Sarah's unstable, always has been. We're better off without her drama. She's probably lying about the whole thing." My father stood up. "Mom, where did you get those?" "That's private." My grandmother's smile was cold. "You sent them to my sister, your aunt, who forwarded them to me. Because unlike you, she has a conscience." Katie tried to speak. "Grandma, we didn't know it was that serious. We thought Sarah was overreacting." My grandmother turned to her slowly. "You didn't know? You didn't know. Because you didn't care. Your sister called your mother bleeding and begging for help. And your mother hung up on her. Twice. Katie's face crumpled. I didn't know that. My grandmother pulled out another document. Yes, you did. Because Sarah texted you from the hospital. She sent you a photo of her hospital bracelet. She told you she lost the baby. And you responded, and I quote, "Stop being dramatic. This is my weekend." Katie's face went white. She looked at her husband, at her kids, at everyone staring at her. I don't remember that. My grandmother held up a printed screenshot. Here it is. December 15th, 2017, 11:43 p.m. The entire text thread. Would you like me to read it out loud? Katie burst into tears. Derek put his arm around her. My mother stood up. This is ridiculous. You're ambushing us. You're trying to make us look like monsters. My grandmother stood, looked her dead in the eye. I don't have to make you look like monsters, Margaret. You did that yourselves. She pulled out another stack of papers. These are phone records, showing that Sarah called you 6 times that night. You ignored every call. These are hospital records, with Sarah's permission, showing she was admitted at 9:37 p.m. and discharged at 6:18 a.m. Alone. These are witness statements from 2 nurses who were there that night. One of them wrote, and I quote, "Patient was emotionally distressed. Kept asking for her mother. Family never came. The room was silent. My aunt was crying. My cousins looked horrified. My father sat down, his face gray. My grandmother wasn't done, and these are bank statements showing that 3 weeks after Sarah's miscarriage, you increased Katie's wedding budget by $12,000 for upgraded florals, while your daughter was in therapy trying not to kill herself." I gasped. I hadn't told anyone that. My grandmother looked at me gently. "I know, sweetheart. Your therapist called me. She was worried. I paid for your sessions. All of them. For 2 years." I felt tears streaming down my face. "You did?" She nodded. "I did. Because someone had to take care of you. And it sure as hell wasn't going to be them." My mother was sobbing now. "We didn't know it was that bad. We thought she'd be fine." My grandmother's voice was ice. "You didn't care if she'd be fine. You cared about appearances, about keeping Katie happy, about maintaining your perfect family image." She pulled out a final document. This is Sarah's medical record, showing she developed severe PTSD and depression following the miscarriage. It took her 2 years to conceive again. 2 years of hell, because her body remembered what her family did to her. James was holding my hand so tight it hurt. Emma was staring at me with big, worried eyes. I picked her up, held her close. My grandmother looked around the room. "So here's what's going to happen. You're going to apologize. All of you. Right now. And then you're going to leave Sarah alone unless she decides she wants contact. And if I ever hear any of you bad-mouthing her again, I will take every single piece of evidence I've collected, and I will send it to everyone you know. Your church, your country club, Derek's law firm, Katie's PTA. Everyone." My mother whispered. "You wouldn't." My grandmother smiled. "Try me." The room erupted, my father yelling, Katie sobbing, my aunt trying to calm everyone down. But I wasn't listening anymore. I was looking at my grandmother. This woman who loved me when no one else did, who fought for me in silence, who waited 7 years for this moment. I stood up, walked to her, hugged her tight. She whispered in my ear, "You deserved better, sweetheart. You always did." My mother finally spoke through her tears. "Sarah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I made a terrible mistake." Her voice was shaking, but something about it felt hollow, rehearsed. My grandmother crossed her arms. "Say it. Say what you did." My mother looked around the room. Everyone was watching. She swallowed hard. "I chose Katie's wedding over you when you were losing your baby. I called you dramatic when you were bleeding in a hospital. I told family members you were lying. I abandoned you when you needed me most." The words hung in the air. My father stood up slowly. He looked older. Broken. "Sarah, I was wrong. I was so focused on making Katie's day perfect that I forgot what actually mattered. You, my daughter. I'm ashamed. I've been ashamed every day for 7 years, but I was too proud to admit it." I stared at him, searching for sincerity. I saw regret, but I also saw fear. Fear of exposure. Fear of losing his reputation. This wasn't about me. It was about damage control. Katie was hyperventilating. Derek was rubbing her back. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. "Sarah, I was a bridezilla. I was selfish. I didn't understand what you were going through. I thought you were just trying to get attention. I was so wrong. Please forgive me." I felt nothing. No anger. No relief. Just emptiness. These were the people who were supposed to love me, protect me, and they threw me away like garbage. For a party. My Aunt Linda stood up. She walked over to me. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I believed their lies. I should have reached out. I should have checked on you." She hugged me. I let her. She wasn't the enemy. She was just collateral damage in my parents' narrative. My cousins apologized too. One by one, they'd been told I was unstable, that I'd cut everyone off, that I was jealous and vindictive. They believed it because it was easier than questioning the adults. My grandmother pulled out one more envelope. "This one is for you, Katie." Katie looked terrified. "What is it?" "Open it." Katie's hands shook as she opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, handwritten. She read it silently. Her face went from confusion to horror. She looked at my grandmother. "You knew?" My grandmother nodded. "I've known for 5 years." Katie crumpled the letter, looked at Derek, then at the floor. I leaned forward. "What is it?" Katie shook her head. "Nothing. It's nothing." My grandmother's voice was sharp. "Tell her, Katie. Or I will." Katie's voice was barely a whisper. "I knew you were pregnant. I knew before the wedding." My heart stopped. "What?" She looked up at me with tears streaming down her face. "You told Mom 6 weeks before the wedding. You asked her not to tell anyone yet. But she told me. She wanted me to know in case something happened, and you tried to make it about you." I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. "You knew? The whole time?" She nodded. "And when you called me from the hospital, I knew you weren't lying. I knew it was real. But I was so angry that you might ruin my weekend that I didn't care. I told myself you'd be fine, that you were being dramatic. But I knew. I knew you were losing your baby, and I chose my rehearsal dinner." James stood up. His voice was shaking with rage. "You knew? You all knew? And you still didn't come?" Derek tried to speak. "We didn't fully understand the severity." James cut him off. "Shut up. Just shut up. You don't get to explain this away." She was hemorrhaging, alone, terrified. And you people were eating shrimp cocktails and taking selfies. Emma started crying. I held her close. "It's okay, baby. Mommy's okay." But I wasn't. I was drowning. My grandmother put her hand on my shoulder. "You don't owe them forgiveness, Sarah. You don't owe them anything. This was for you to hear the truth, to know you weren't crazy. You weren't dramatic. They failed you, not the other way around." I looked around the room, at the faces of people who were supposed to be my family. My mother was sobbing into her hands. My father looked like he'd aged 10 years in 10 minutes. Katie couldn't meet my eyes, and I realized something. I didn't need their apologies. I didn't need their explanations. I needed them to sit with what they'd done, to feel the weight of it, the way I'd felt it every single day for 7 years. I stood up. My voice was steady, stronger than I expected. "You want to know the worst part? It wasn't the miscarriage, it was the loneliness. I was lying in that hospital bed thinking I was going to die, and all I wanted was my mom. I called you 6 times, Mom. 6 times. And you sent every single call to voicemail because Katie's centerpieces were more important than my life. My mother reached out. Sarah, please. I pulled back. I'm not finished. I went home that night to an empty house. I bled through my clothes. I sat on the bathroom floor and I wanted to die. I wanted to stop existing because the pain was too much. And you know what stopped me? My grandmother. She called me every single day. She checked on me. She paid for my therapy when I couldn't afford it. She's the only reason I'm still here. James wrapped his arm around me. Emma was quiet now, resting her head on my chest. My grandmother stood beside me like a shield. I looked at Katie. You got your perfect wedding, your perfect life, your perfect kids. And I'm happy for you. I really am. But you don't get to pretend you didn't know. You don't get to rewrite history. You knew I was losing my baby and you chose table settings. Katie was sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I wish I could take it back. But you can't. None of you can. I looked at my father. And you. You told James I was being dramatic. You said I was jealous of Katie. You told our entire extended family I was unstable. Do you have any idea what that did to me? I lost my reputation, my community, my identity. Because you couldn't admit you were wrong, my father's voice cracked. I know, and I hate myself for it. Then live with that. The way I've had to live with it. My grandmother cleared her throat. There's one more thing. She pulled out a final document. This is a letter I wrote 3 years ago. I was going to give it to you at my funeral, but I decided I wanted to see your faces when you read it. She handed it to my mother. Read it. Out loud. My mother's hand shook as she unfolded the paper. Her voice was barely audible. To my family. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And I want you to know that I changed my will 5 years ago. My entire estate, including my house, my savings, and my life insurance, goes to Sarah. Not because I don't love the rest of you, but because she's the only one who deserved it. She's the only one who showed up. The only one who called. The only one who loved me without expecting anything in return. You threw her away, so I'm giving her everything you thought you'd inherit. May you live with the knowledge that your cruelty cost you more than you'll ever know. The room went silent. My mother dropped the paper. My father stared at my grandmother in shock. Katie's mouth fell open. My grandmother smiled. I'm not dead yet. But the will is real. And it's ironclad. I made sure of that. My mother whispered, Mom, how could you? My grandmother's eyes were ice. How could I? How could you? You abandoned your daughter in her darkest hour. You gossiped about her. You erased her. And you expected me to just watch? I'm your mother, Margaret. But I'm Sarah's grandmother. And she needed me more. My uncle, who'd been silent the whole time, finally spoke. Mom, that's not fair. You're punishing all of us for Margaret and Richard's mistakes. My grandmother turned to him. No, Tom. I'm rewarding the one person who never asked me for anything, the one person who loved me without an agenda. Do you know how many times Katie and Margaret called me this year? 47 times. Do you know what they talked about? Money, loans, investments, help with down payments. Not once did they ask how I was doing. She looked at me. Do you know how many times Sarah called? Twice a month. Every month. For 7 years. Just to talk. To check on me. To tell me about Emma. She never asked for a dime. She didn't even know I was paying for her therapy. That's the difference. My mother stood up, her face twisted with anger and desperation. So you're cutting us out? Your own daughter? Over a mistake from 7 years ago? My grandmother stepped forward. It wasn't a mistake, Margaret. It was a choice. You chose cruelty. And you kept choosing it. Every time you told someone Sarah was lying, every time you posted about being a devoted mother on Facebook while your daughter was in therapy, every time you played victim. Katie found her voice. What about my kids? Your great-grandchildren? Don't they deserve something? My grandmother's expression softened slightly. They're innocent in this. I've set up small education funds for them. But the bulk of my estate goes to Sarah and Emma. Katie looked at me with something like hatred. This is what you wanted, isn't it? To turn Grandma against us? To destroy our family? I laughed. It was sharp and bitter. I didn't even know she was doing this, Katie. I came here thinking she was going to try to force some kind of reconciliation. I had no idea. So no, this isn't what I wanted. What I wanted was for my mother to show up at the hospital. What I wanted was for you to care more about me than your flower arrangements. What I wanted was for Dad to believe me. None of that happened. So now I just want to be left alone. Derek, who'd been quiet, finally spoke. This is insane. You're all insane. Airing dirty laundry like this in front of everyone. You should have handled this privately. James turned on him. Privately? They've been privately destroying Sarah's reputation for 7 years. This needed to be public. They needed to be held accountable in front of witnesses. Otherwise, they'd just lie about it later. Rewrite the story. Make Sarah the villain again. My Aunt Linda spoke up. Sarah, what do you want? What would make this right? I looked at her. Honestly, nothing. There's nothing they can do. They can't give me back that night. They can't undo 7 years of grief and isolation. They can't erase the damage. I've spent years in therapy learning to accept that I'll never get the family I deserved. I've made peace with it. This doesn't change anything for me. My grandmother squeezed my hand. But it changes things for them. They need to know there are consequences. That they can't just apologize and expect everything to go back to normal. She looked around the room. I'm not doing this to be vindictive. I'm doing this because Sarah deserved an advocate. Someone who would stand up for her when no one else would. That's what grandmothers do. My mother was crying quietly now. Mom, I've apologized. What more do you want from me? My grandmother's voice was firm. I want you to sit with it, Margaret. I want you to feel the weight of what you did. I want you to understand that love isn't just words. It's action. It's showing up. It's choosing your child over everything else. You failed at that. And now you have to live with it. My father put his head in his hands. This is a nightmare. My grandmother corrected him. No, Richard. 7 years ago was the nightmare. This is just the reckoning. Katie suddenly stood up, her face red with anger. You know what? Fine. You want to make me the villain? I'll be the villain. Yes, I was selfish. Yes, I chose my wedding. But you want to know the truth, Sarah? You've always been jealous of me. Always. Since we were kids. Mom and Dad gave you everything and you still played the victim. You couldn't stand that I was finally getting attention for once. The room went silent. My grandmother's face darkened. Katie, sit down. But Katie was on a roll, 7 years of resentment pouring out. No, I'm done being quiet. She acts like she's this perfect victim, but she's not. She cut us all off. She refused every attempt we made to reach out. She kept our granddaughter from us. That's cruel. That's manipulative. My mother was nodding along. She's right. We tried, Sarah. We sent cards. We called. You ignored us. I felt something snap inside me. You tried? I stood up, my voice shaking. You sent me a Christmas card 3 months after you abandoned me in the hospital. A generic card that said, wishing you joy and peace. No apology, no acknowledgement, just a card. That's not trying. That's checking a box so you can tell people you reached out. My father interjected. We didn't know what to say. Then you should have said that. You should have said, we don't know what to say, but we're here. Instead, you said nothing. And then, you told everyone I was the problem. My grandmother pulled out her phone. You want to talk about attempts to reach out? Let me read Sarah's text messages. December 2018, 1 year after the miscarriage. Mom, I'm struggling. I'm in a dark place. Can we please talk? No response. March 2019. Dad, I just want to understand why you didn't come. Can you help me make sense of it? Block number. June 2020. Katie, I saw you posted about family being everything. Does that include me? Left on read. Katie's face went pale. I didn't see that message. My grandmother's voice was steel. You saw it. You read it at 2:47 p.m. on June 18th. And you posted a photo with Mom and Dad 30 minutes later with the caption, My real ones. Katie sat down slowly. My mother tried to recover. We were hurt too, Sarah. You cut us out. You didn't invite us to Emma's birth. I didn't even know I had a granddaughter until 2 years ago. I felt rage building in my chest. You didn't know because you told me to stop being dramatic when I was losing my first child. Why on earth would I let you anywhere near my second? You think you deserved an invitation? You think you earned the right to be in Emma's life? My mother's voice broke. She's my granddaughter. And Emma is my daughter. Mine. I decide who gets to be in her life. And I decided that people who abandon their children during medical emergencies don't get access to my child. Derek stood up again. This is getting out of hand. We should all take a break. Cool down. My grandmother's laugh was cold. No, we're finishing this. Because if we don't, they'll walk out of here and tell everyone that Sarah ambushed them, that she's unstable, that she's keeping Emma from her loving grandparents. They'll rewrite history again. She looked at my mother. Tell me, Margaret. Have you told your friends at church what really happened? Or did you tell them Sarah just drifted away? My mother didn't answer. My Aunt Linda spoke up quietly. She told us Sarah had mental health issues and cut everyone off, that she was getting help but didn't want contact. My grandmother nodded. Of course she did. Because that sounds better than the truth. My father finally spoke, his voice hollow. What do you want from us, Sarah? What will it take? I looked at him for a long moment. Nothing, Dad. I don't want anything from you. I wanted something 7 years ago. I needed you. And you weren't there. I don't need you anymore. I have James. I have Emma. I have Grandma. I have a family. You're just people I used to know. My words hung in the air like a guillotine blade. My father's face crumbled. Katie started crying again, but this time it sounded different. Desperate, panicked. Emma tugged on my shirt. Mommy, can we go home now? I kissed her forehead. Soon, baby. Soon. My grandmother wasn't finished. She pulled out one final envelope. This one is for all of you. It's a cease and desist letter drafted by my attorney. If any of you contact Sarah, James, or Emma without their explicit permission, I will pursue legal action for harassment. If any of you spread false information about Sarah, I will sue for defamation. I have 7 years of evidence. Don't test me. My mother gasped. You'd sue your own family? My grandmother's smile was thin. You stopped being my family when you stopped acting like it. Family shows up. Family protects. Family loves unconditionally. You did none of those things. My Uncle Tom stood up. This is insane. You're destroying this family over one night. James shot back. One night? They spent 7 years doubling down. 7 years lying. 7 years playing victim. This isn't about one night. It's about 2,555 days of cruelty. Katie looked at me one more time. Sarah, please. We can fix this. We can be a family again. I shook my head slowly. We were never a family, Katie. We were just people who shared DNA and a house. A family doesn't abandon each other. A family doesn't lie. A family doesn't choose appearances over people. You can't fix something that was never real. Her face hardened. Fine. Then I hope you're happy. I hope your bitterness keeps you warm at night. My grandmother stepped forward. Don't you dare. Don't you dare make her the villain here. You did this. All of you. Own it. My mother played her last card. What about forgiveness? What about grace? Doesn't that mean anything? I felt a strange calm wash over me. Forgiveness isn't the same as reconciliation, Mom. I've forgiven you for my own peace, so I'm not carrying rage anymore. But forgiveness doesn't mean I have to let you back in my life. It just means I'm not letting you live in my head rent-free anymore. You're forgiven, and you're still not welcome. My father stood up slowly. He looked at Emma, his eyes filled with tears. Can I at least meet my granddaughter before you cut us off forever? I looked at Emma, then at James, then at my grandmother. James spoke for me. No, you can't. Because Sarah's medical trauma is Emma's origin story. And we're not going to let Emma grow up thinking it's okay to treat people the way you treated Sarah. We're breaking the cycle. My father nodded slowly, defeat written all over his face. I understand. My grandmother picked up her leather folder, gathered her documents. She looked at each person in the room. I hope this hurts. I hope you think about this every single day. I hope every Christmas, every Thanksgiving, every birthday, you remember what you threw away. Because Sarah is extraordinary. She's kind, resilient, and she built a beautiful life from the ashes you left her in, and you'll never be part of it. That's your loss, not hers. She took my hand. Come on, sweetheart. Let's go home. I picked up Emma. James grabbed our coats. We walked toward the door. My mother called out one last time. Sarah, please. I turned back, looked at her, really looked at her. I saw an older woman, scared, broken, desperate, and I felt nothing. No anger, no pain, no love, just nothing. Take care of yourself, Mom. And I walked out. The cold air hit my face as we stepped outside. Emma said, Mommy, why was everyone crying? I smiled at her. Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, baby, and sometimes those mistakes are too big to fix. James opened the car door. My grandmother hugged me tight. You did so well, sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. I held her. Thank you for everything, for never giving up on me. She pulled back, her eyes shining. That's what real love does, Sarah. It never gives up. We drove away. I didn't look back. That was 2 months ago. I haven't heard from my parents since. Katie sent one text. I ignored it. My grandmother is still the fiercest woman I know. Emma asks about that day sometimes. I tell her the truth, that some people aren't safe, even if they're family, that love is a verb, not just a word, and that she will always, always be chosen, every single day. I'm not going to tell you I'm completely healed. Trauma doesn't work that way, but I'm free. Free from the narrative they tried to trap me in, free from the guilt, free from hoping they'd change. My grandmother gave me something more valuable than money. She gave me validation, proof that I wasn't crazy, that I wasn't the problem, that I deserved better. If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been abandoned by the people who were supposed to protect you, I see you. You're not alone, and you're not too much. You're exactly enough. If you made it this far, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Share your story in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from. And remember, family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's the grandmother who shows up with receipts and changes your entire life.